Welcome to Real Estate While You Drive with Eric Stark. Whether walking, running, riding, driving, or flying, this podcast is for the real estate entrepreneur on the go. If you are looking for simple to consume, easy to implement real estate breakthroughs and strategies, Real Estate While You Drive will put you in the driver's seat on the fast track to success. Subscribe today and ask away. We are here to help you break through.
Hello, this is Eric Stark, and in this podcast, I'd like to tell you how to get started in real estate for less than $100. You know, as a full-time real estate investor, my business partner Steve and I get approached and emailed and contacted very often with people wanting to break into the business of real estate, and nothing excites me more than somebody that is willing to do what it takes to change their financial future and begin to live a better life through real estate. The biggest problem that I face is so many people that come to us have this expectation that it is a flash in the pan business opportunity that they can just sprinkle some magic dust and start having checks pour into their life and in their bank account. And it's very frustrating, because that is the image that the industry paints for us. And most people that are getting into real estate are doing it because they want to improve their lifestyle. At least most of the people that come to us. They want to live a better life, they want to make more income, they want the challenge, they want to be a business owner. So a lot of these people come from situations where they are leaving a job or may have been laid off from a job and have very little money saved or no money saved at all, where they can begin playing in the game of real estate. I will never be the person to tell you that it doesn't take money to play. We do leverage to the absolute greatest ability that we can to not use our money on our deals. But what I'm about to share and reveal with you is the strategy and principles that not only do I still use on a inside of my business every day because it works, but it's a very low entry way to get into the game that if you don't have money, you're going to compensate it with time. And I think most of you are good with that. So I don't have very long. I don't want to keep you too long on this podcast. I want to give you some very simple understandings of how you can break into this industry, give you some very clear action steps, and then I want to hear some feedback from you about how your results are going. So just to give you a 40,000 foot overhead of what we're trying to accomplish and what you need, I'm going to break this into a couple of different parts. That's going to be, and again, if you have a pen and paper, I would advise you to grab it, write it down, pull out your phone, write some notes. But you want to break this down into 5 separate parts. My show notes will be available. My course outline of my discussion will be available for you to download. But I highly advise you take some notes along this process. But the 5 things that I'm going to discuss with you is what you need, setting the stage, finding your farm, getting the data, and then cleaning and organizing the data. So those 5 topics are what I'm going to talk about before we get into getting responses and action steps. So what you need, setting the stage, finding your farm area, getting the data, and cleaning and organizing that information. So the items that you're going to need obviously are you're going to become your own marketer in a sense. You don't have the financial ability to buy a list and learn all these fundamentals. You want to break into this, or it's my goal to get you to break into this and put you right into the heart of activity. You can read home study courses and videos and go to seminars and travel across the country for the best education in the world. However, if you are not sitting down with face-to-face sellers and writing offers on a weekly basis, you're not doing anything in this business. I assure you, if you're not sitting with sellers and putting offers in front of people's faces, nothing is going to come to fruition and materialize inside of your real estate business. So You need to have a means of transportation so you can get around the neighborhood that you are going to begin combing for leads. You are going to need several yellow pads of paper. You can actually go to any department store or CVS, or if where you're at in life is you need to go to the dollar store, by all means go do it. It's all the same. It gets you the same end result. There is there's nothing being taken aback by you saving money on getting your business up and going. So you need the yellow pad of paper, 100 security envelopes, 100 8.5 by 11 yellow envelopes, a multicolored Dr. pen, some highlighters, a book of 100 stamps, access to public records, and an insane amount of persistence to see this to fruition. There's another podcast that you can find in here about why you need to be persistent and consistent, and I highly advise you listen to that directly after you listen to this podcast, because without an insane amount of persistence to see you through, you're likely to give up like the masses do. And we don't want you to do that. We want to see you break through this industry and become financially free and independent. So now that you have the materials that you need, the idea that I'm trying to paint for you, or the stage that I'm trying to set for your mind, is you are going directly to the marketplace and avoiding what the masses of investors do inside of this market. What most people do is they sit in an office chair, they hunt the MLS, they wait for realtors to bring them deals, they play on Craigslist, they try to advertise on Facebook, they spend thousands of dollars in direct mail every single month, and most of them get dismal results. And even if they are getting great results, we want to put you directly into the action, and you likely are listening to this podcast because you don't have several $1,000s or hard earnest monies to give to real estate agents to start pumping out productivity and offers inside of your business. You're doing this at the ground level with a minimum expense, and we want to get you ramped up as soon as possible. So the stage that we're trying to set here is you are going to find the marketplace where you are going to totally immerse yourself in, and you are going to practice the go deep, not wide approach. We want to carve out the areas most likely candidates to sell their property to people like us over a face-to-face meeting without the intimidation and blindness of these bright, colorful mailers. Our approach is totally different. Our angle is different. Our character is different. The way that we're reaching out to these people is totally different than what every other person is doing in this marketplace. So we are going deep into the most likely candidates, not wide, going after several thousand. If that makes any sense to you, that's what I'm trying to help you do. Instead of mailing 5,000 absentees, hoping you buy one deal out of that, I want you to go out and collect 1,000 addresses and little by little start chipping away at them with personal handwritten letters that are, even if they're typed, they are coming from a direct personal point of proposition and getting you the response that leads to the meeting that's going to allow you to close the sale. So I want you to wrap your head around the fact that you are not jumping into this marketplace going after every Tom, Dick, and Harry. We are only going after the people that are most qualified and likely to sell their property at a discount. What you're essentially doing here is you are creating a list of off-market properties that nobody else knows about. The reason they don't know about it is because people are not out in the streets finding deals. They're behind a screen, they're at Starbucks, they're on their phone, they're in appointments, they're in the office. Nobody is driving in the streets, talking to the contractors, talking to the gardeners, the streetwalkers, the city inspectors, and finding out what properties are in financial and physical distress that you can begin taking a personal approach to contact the owner and buy the deal directly one-on-one. You are creating a list of off-market properties that nobody else has access to. While you're out doing this, the most important part of real estate is to understand the marketplace and develop a new sense of awareness for what's going on. So many people want to invest in real estate, but they couldn't tell you what values are. They don't know what price per foot rehabs sell for in the neighborhood. They don't know what rent prices are. So they don't know how to go in and sit down with somebody and evaluate what homes are valued at in that neighborhood. And I guarantee you, one day of you and I spending time on the streets, showing you things from my perspective, we will help you wrap your head around a baseline of who's who, what agents are dominating the area, how much investor activity there is, the price per square foot, the listing price to selling price percentage ratios, and all the data that we need that you're going to have to learn very quickly in order for you to walk into an appointment with confidence and tell that seller what they need to hear that makes sense for a price that you want to purchase it at. So while you're out there learning and gaining and soaking up this market data and this knowledge, you're deputizing people. You're meeting with people that are walking their dog or out in the streets, and you're walking up to the neighbor's door saying, I don't mean to bother you, but I just wanted to ask what was going on with this house across the street. It looks like it's vacant, it's distressed. Do you know anything? You're deputizing people and learning the marketplace inside of the marketplace each and every day. And that's where business happens, inside of the marketplace. If you want to get in the game, you can't sit in the sidelines or on the bench or in the stands. You got to get in the game on a daily basis, and I guarantee you're going to start seeing results. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to identify your farm area. Now, there's a lot of training out there. There's a lot of good articles and videos out there. I know specifically when I'm looking at a marketplace, whether it's in one of my primary investing markets or working on one with a student of ours, the criteria that we are looking for when it comes to working in a farm area is, number one, it has to be an area of high demand. And I prefer to focus in areas that are a little bit more desirable to work in versus an entry-level market where there's tons of activity, but it's so competitive that it's typically the low-end fruit that people are going after, and this is typically in borderline war zone areas where landlords love to gobble up properties, and there may be an occasional rehab going on. But the number one criteria that I'm looking for is an area of high demand. And if I can put any kind of caveat in there, I would challenge you to play in areas that inspire you and stir your blood. I don't know about you, but I get zero internal satisfaction driving through war zones looking for distressed properties where I am just not passionate about the real estate. I want to play in areas of great demand where everybody wants to live and take their spouse out to dinner, and I challenge you to get out there and find the area of your marketplace. And I know you may be thinking, there's no way I can afford to be in that part of town. Bullshit. I'm challenging you. You can do it. After we find the area of great demand, we need to make sure that we have plenty of sales activity. Not only do we want some conventional sales, we want to see some cash purchases. We want to be able to drive down a couple of streets and see the realtor signs, the dumpsters in the driveway, the contractor vans, the landscape crews, the new homes being built, the for rent signs. We want to see some high level activity within a couple streets of that area. Another very important aspect of finding your farm area is it should be relatively close to home. Now, I understand if you don't live in an area that has this criteria, you're going to have to make the sacrifice and maybe travel a little bit farther. But if by any means necessary, you can pick the first farm area that you're going to take over to be close to where you reside, it'll be a lot easier for you to transport back and forth and go from the war room back to the streets on a daily basis. It's also very crucial that you are extremely knowledgeable of the area that you're going into. You want to have some kind of working knowledge of the school district, who is the homeowners that live there, who are the people that are residing in that community, what kind of functions do they have. You want to have some idea as far as what's going on, as far as who is my buyer, who is my client. When I find deals here, am I selling this to a rehabber, a home builder, a executive who's going to live there? Who is your client base when you are finding these deals? Another thing that we verify by having knowledge in the area is by confirming that we can drive through those streets and find single-family homes, multi-family properties, and new construction opportunities. Because as long as we have all three of these going on, it means you can assign properties. Now, I know to a lot of people, the word assign may not ring a bell, but this is what most people call a wholesaler. And I refuse to use that word in our industry. It's like the cars salesman slogan of real estate. Never ever introduce yourself as a real estate wholesaler. You can let people know that you assign properties from time to time, but you are a entrepreneur that specializes in real estate. You are not a wholesaler. Nobody wants to be known as the wholesaler. So as long as we can verify that there are rehabbers rehabbing properties, there are multifamilies being purchased by companies and independent landlords for cash flow purposes, and new construction homes, that means you can get out there and find great opportunities just below the market value, and then find those people that are going to remodel it or keep it as a long-term multifamily property or build it into a new construction home. And then you simply assign your rights over to those people. But we're gonna get into that later on. Once you found your farm area, you're gonna want to get into wrapping your head around the data that you are trying to extract from this farm area. This is where the rubber meets the road. And to some of you, it might sound very, very boring to do this, but once you have everything you need in your passenger seat and you understand that you're getting out there to build a list of undiscovered properties and you know the farm area that you're going to go to, this is where things become interesting. This is where the business starts to come alive. And if you're doing the activity persistently and consistently, there is no way you cannot get results. There's no way. I've never ever had one person come back that followed the exact directions I've given them and say, Eric, not one person has called or emailed or responded back to my contact. It's never happened. We are taking such an indirect but direct approach to these property owners. There's no way that they can't respond because you simply stand out versus every other person that is bombarding them with information that they have become numb to. So what we want to do is we want to get in our car. We want to go over to our farm area. We want to have our yellow pad of paper in our lap with a blue ink pen ready to start jotting down addresses. And what we are going to do is we are going to comb this area until we get every single property that fits under our criteria. And we simply want to collect 1,000 addresses. That's our goal. 10 addresses isn't enough. 100 is for the layman week. We want to collect 1,000 addresses. Now, it doesn't have to be today or this weekend or this week. We want to do this over time. It may take you several days or weeks to comb your farm area. If anybody listened to the story of when I relocated down to Florida a few years back, the first thing that I did was go to the oceanside communities throughout 2 cities, Broward and Palm Beach, and drive east of Federal Highway every single day and write down every single opportunity we were looking for. We divided it into distressed ugly properties. We had another yellow pad for multifamily properties. We had another one for land development opportunities and another one for commercial opportunities. So what we want to get you to do is get into that farm area and start collecting 1,000 addresses. And what you are looking for, vacant and distressed homes that have growing grass all over, cars that are on cinder blocks, newspapers stacked in the driveway, garbage that's overflowing, toys all over the whole yard. We want something that is definitely in physical or financial distress. You already know what those look like. You've developed an eye for them. You need to take every step necessary to find out as much information about that property owner as you can. If you see a neighbor walking by, somebody standing outside, if you have the audacity to go up and knock on every single person that lives within 5 houses of that home, knock on their door and go find out what's going on. I promise you will be rewarded. They likely know who the owner is, what his number is, what's going on with the home. They're tired of seeing it. It's a nuisance. The guy won't clean it up. He doesn't live there. They will tell you more information than any realtor or city inspector ever will. So get in the neighborhood and find every single vacant and distressed property that you can find. Here's my little caveat. When in doubt, mail it out. And what I mean by that is if you're driving by a house and you're like, you know, the grass is clean, there's a junky car in the driveway, the roof looks a little old, and the windows are pretty shabby, I'm mailing that property. When in doubt, spend the 49 cents and mail it out to somebody, because the answer that comes back can very likely be a yes. When in doubt, mail it out. The next thing that you want to focus on is finding what we call your top 100 properties. These are gorgeous, in-demand, absolutely beautiful units that you may not think that you have the ability to purchase and keep for long-term wealth, but I want you to start working on them now. Your whole goal of getting into real estate is to become financially independent. Don't ever hold yourself to the standard that you have to start at the bottom of the totem pole and that these beautiful sixplexes are out of your reach. You're going to grow so rapidly by being in front of the marketplace on a daily basis, you'll be able to talk to an owner of a 6-unit apartment building within the first couple of months and possibly have enough money from your assignment deals to buy that property on owner finance terms like somebody may have done to that guy down the road or at the beginning of his career. He's going to pass the baton on to you, and now you're going to be the person that buys that property. So I don't want you to ignore, and a matter of fact, I want you to specifically develop an eye for the most beautiful, impressive, character, gorgeous looking properties you can find in there. If it's a single family home with character and you want to own it, mark it down and put top 100. That goes into a totally separate file that you will speak to totally differently than the person who's going to be getting a distressed vacant letter. More addresses that you want to collect are current flips that are going on. When you drive by a home that has a dumpster there, there's contractor vans, there's materials all over, you know what a construction site looks like. If there's people working, stop and talk to them. Get a business card. The easiest way to assign a property over to a new buyer is to contact the contractor that can come in, give you a repair estimate, so now you know when you contact the investor, they can't come give you some BS, fluff about why they can't buy it because the rehab numbers are this price. Because you've already got the bid from their contractor. And matter of fact, if you were to tell that contractor to say, you know what, why don't you go back to your boss, your employer, and tell them that you found a deal and that it makes perfect sense, because it's a lot more beneficial for you to send somebody else to brag about your deal than you to be the person trying to do it. So develop an eye for properties that are being flipped or rehabbed or were recently purchased and acquired. And the reason we want you to do that is not only are those people buyers, that's how you find buyers for your properties. I can't tell you how many deals I've found that I would just drive down the neighborhood trying to get an understanding, and I would stop at a construction site and talk to somebody and say, I just bought one the next street over. Here's a lockbox. Go look at it. Let me know if you're interested. The next thing you know, I get a text that says, I'll take it. Or you call a for rent by owner sign and you say, hey, what are you asking for rent? And you pick up the conversation and you just start rambling on and on and on. You say, well, I got another one around the street that I bought. Are you interested in taking a look at it? And next thing you know, you're striking a deal with the landlord. This is direct one-on-one activity in the marketplace every day that's going to get you very, very quick results. Most importantly, one of the most important aspects of finding properties that were recently purchased is finding out who the lender is behind it. We always want to be searching for 3 things in our business: buyers, sellers, and lenders of real estate. That is your only task as an investor, to find buyers, sellers, and lenders every single day. Not to do websites, not to do emails, not to order flyers. I understand you may have to do some of that because you're just starting, but you can avoid so much of what I just talked about by getting into the streets, getting money coming into your life that now allows you to take a step back and build a business properly. Every single one of those properties that we just went over, the rehab property, the for rent by owner property, was recently purchased, likely for cash, from a private investor's bank account. If you learn to become a ninja on your public records, you can pull that information and find out who the lender is on that property, and you can reach out to that person in a very personal yet strategic way, because you have to know there are very, very extreme consequences to reaching out to people that are not accredited investors to borrow money. Consult with your attorney. I am not giving legal advice when it comes to that. That's my little caveat. But there are lenders out there on a daily basis that lend on these transactions that you are one nudge or bump or phone call or letter away from bumping into and having contact with, and having that person in your back pocket. Another very important part of what we want to get out in the streets is we want to start putting disciples in these communities that can become our eyes and ears on the streets. Now, we are going to be very active, and you are going to see that when you start driving these streets and showing up in a community and bumping into the who's who and seeing, wow, Mary really does walk her dog this same neighborhood every single day. You stop and talk to Mary, you hand her a bottled water or a coffee, you pick up the conversation from the last time you spoke to her, and now you're connecting dots. Mary sees that you're vested in this community and says, you know, there was a property that I noticed the other day. Some people were moving out of it. I really don't know what the situation was, but it's down this street, go around the corner, and it was the blue house, the third one in. And the next thing, and guys, don't sit there and think that this is, impossible. I'm telling you because it's happened. Everything that I'm sharing with you today has happened inside of our real estate business. We've bought houses from mailmen and streetwalkers and dog walkers and gardeners and community officials and inspectors that told us that they were tired of dealing with this landlord. By getting out there and getting all this activity under your belt, you're developing direct lines of communication with the most likely candidates that are willing to sell you their property at a discount. Those are the people that we want to have. 1,000 addresses, vacant and distressed, ugly homes, beautiful, gorgeous, in-demand properties that you want to keep as long-term investments that can make you wealthy, current flips so we can find out who's buying, how much they're buying for, and then who are the lenders behind those deals that are closing in those neighborhoods. We want those people to all be in our team, on our circle, bringing us deals, doing business, lending us money, and keeping the economy rolling on a day-to-day basis. We want to make sure that we're calling on every FSBO and for rent by owner sign, and we want to make sure that we're talking to every street walker and dog walker that we can come across to find out if they know about any vacant or distressed properties that we can look at. Now comes one of the most, I don't want to use the word daunting, but this is where I get a lot of resistance from people that just don't want to put in the work to find out who their audience is and what the story is behind these properties. So now that you've spent a day in the streets, you've got 1,000 addresses, or let's just say 100 addresses, and 75 of those are distressed and ugly, 20 of them are absolutely beautiful, and 5 of them are recent flips that look like they have some form of construction going on. If you're a real estate agent, you can simply hop onto your MLS, go to your Realist side or your Smart Links tab, and go to your public records section and start typing in all of these addresses that you jotted down. That's what we want to do every single time, is go through one by one, property by property, and begin finding out who the owner is. Are they an owner-occupant, or are they an absentee? And is there any equity in that property? That's what we are looking for. Does the person live there? Are they owner-occupied? Is it non-homesteaded? Is there any equity? And the way that we typically tell if there's equity is by the sales recording date. Now, once you learn how to use public record, depending on how it's set up, you're going to find that almost every property purchased has some form of sales recording date and mortgage history. Now, I know there are some non-disclosure states out there. I don't know how you find that information. There has to be some form of record that shows
who these property owners are, and it may be a little bit more difficult. But again, this is where you begin to put the rubber to the road, and all the work that you've done so far, it either builds from this point or it dies at this point. And we want to make sure that you're carrying this all the way to fruition. So find a way to get access to public record and then categorize them into individual spreadsheets. You want to take the ugly distressed properties and put them in one spreadsheet. You want to take the beautiful properties and put them in another. You want to take the buyers and put them in another. And you want to take the lenders and put them in another. Why do we want to do that? Because we are going to communicate to those people completely different when it comes to the way that we approach them. You are not going to contact the owner of a 6-unit apartment building and send him a photo of his property showing him how ugly it is like you would a vacant, distressed homeowner. You are going to talk to him in a completely different language. And again, that's for you to decide. I have examples. You can put some contacts or comments in the email below, and I can send you examples of the letters that we use. But I assure you, I will tell you over and over again, I will give you every mailing letter that I've ever used for you to test. But my expert marketing piece that works perfect for me will not work perfectly for you. And here's why. You have to be unique to yourself and be the person that is going to pick up the phone and speak exactly the same as you did in the letter that they received. Now, if I'm the person that wrote the copy for the letter that you're sending out, and your character or your demeanor or your personality or your attitude is totally different than mine, I'm going to hurt your ability to convert those people into actual leads that you can close. So once you start categorizing this information and you put it into a spreadsheet, eventually you're going to find a person that's going to help you mail these letters and do the mail merge and pump these letters out. I am a very, very big fan of writing as many personal handwritten letters as you can. Now, I'm obviously not going to take the time to write out 1,000 letters, but I will write personal handwritten letters to properties that I put a star next to or highlighted or had notes that said majorly distressed, holes in the roof, tarps all over, neighbors absolutely want this property gone. I will actually spend time that same day driving across town to knock on the owner's property and find out what is going on with that home, because I know it's that qualified of a lead. And that's all I want. I just want a quality lead that I can go after the owner and have a realistic conversation about how I can purchase that property from them. So we've researched the data, we've categorized them into vacant, desirable, buyers, and lenders. And the information that we have to have on that spreadsheet, the information that we have to have on that owner, I apologize about that, my phone just blipped for a second. The information that we have to have on that spreadsheet is the owner's first name, and we want to have all of these by individual cells. We do not want them all batched together. We want them independently, so when we do our mail merge, we can make sure that we never mail two names together. It just looks a lot more professional if you're going to do a mail merge to go the personal route and use their first name. So you want owner's first name, owner's last name, the subject property address, the mailing address, the mailing city, the mailing state, the recording date, and then any notes you have on that property. So again, in its own individual cell, you want the owner's first name, last name, subject property, mailing address, city, state, and zip code of where you're going to be mailing the letter to contact that homeowner. And then you want to have the recording date and any notes that were included from your time in the streets. Once you have that information, now what we are going to focus on is getting a mail piece in their hands that is going to get you a response. Now, here's what I advise you to do, just so you don't pull your hair out trying to figure out how all this flows together. I would advise you to look at the properties that you have on your list that are desirable and you want to own and are great properties that could really contribute to your wealth. And you may be thinking that right now, even if that person called I likely don't have the ability to take that deal down. So what you want to focus on right now is the fast cash opportunities and assignments that you can go after that will allow you to build your capital and then get back to playing with these beautiful units that can really help set the path for you to have financial freedom. So what you want to do is you want to create a unique letter or mail piece or postcard, whatever it is that you choose. Now, if I were where you're at right now, I would start with a postcard. It's a little bit more affordable. Your response rates are going to be a little bit less, but if your message is very clear and personal and direct and sincere, you're going to stick out from the masses of other people. Now, I want to throw this little caveat out there that I'm at the point in our career now where we are doing very, very strategic things to get responses from these mailers. And again, I still drive neighborhoods quite often and come up with new addresses and mail out, but we have become very, very comfortable with sending out 8.5 by 11 yellow envelopes. And I know it's a little bit costly, but we're getting responses unlike any other mail piece we've ever used. The reason why? Nobody's using them yet. Everybody's mailing postcards, even the jumbo oversized ones, whether it's ugly, whether it's pretty, whether it's full color or black and white, postcards are everywhere. The reason I recommended that for you is because it's a little bit more affordable, it's a little bit more manageable, and it can allow you to get in the game relatively quickly by going to, click to mail, USPS, and uploading your list, designing a quick little postcard, and mailing it out there. However, if you want to sit down and type out your own letter or write out your own letter and start stuffing those 8.5 by 11 envelopes, I strongly advise you to do that. That's why I had you purchase them, because they work. It's going to get you the results that I guarantee you want to get you into the game a lot quicker. Taking a step back, before you get in the streets, you may choose to begin leaving notes on people's doors, not only to find out if there's anybody living there that's going to pick up that letter and possibly respond to you, but if you leave a yellow note taped to somebody's door and you drive by a week from now and you know that nobody has taken it off, there's a very, very good chance that you can drive across town or track that person down and have a very serious conversation about buying that property. Another very good tactic that we've used with great success is to take a photo of these ugly houses. And again, this can get out of hand quickly because you're taking so many photos. You have to know which order you took them. But you can begin printing off mailers that have the same message, "Have you seen your house lately?" with an ugly photo of it that says, "Hi, my name's Eric. I was recently driving through the neighborhood the other day and I came across your property at 123 XYZ Street. I would like to know if you would be interested in discussing selling this property to me. I can be reached by phone, fax, email. Here's a pre-recorded message line. Whatever it is that you want people to contact you. I have several other podcasts here that talk about setting up your automated response systems that can help you not have to take all the calls. But again, focus on simplicity right now. Get the calls coming to your email, have the people text you, have them call to your cell phone, whatever it takes. We can build the business later once the money starts coming in. Take a photo of the house, drop it in that mailer, print it, stuff it in an 8.5 by 11 envelope, and there's no way somebody's not going to respond to that letter. Moving forward to developing a compelling message. Again, I'm a firm believer that there is no expert when it comes to your marketing, because it's you, it's your message, it's your marketplace conveying what you need to communicate to people to get them to respond. So I can tell you what's worked for me, but I can't tell you what's going to get you a response. But it needs to be very compelling. It needs to be seller benefit oriented, and it needs to talk about the benefits, not so much the relief, but what are the benefits to the seller of them picking up the phone and contacting you. If you need help with this, I have swipe files available from several hundred investors' mailers that we've collected over the years from sellers that we've purchased their property and they've handed over these files and boxes of and stacks of mail that we've received. I'd be more than willing to share some of that information with you so you can see what people are putting out there. But again, that's from my market, not yours, so that could actually hurt you more than it helps you. But develop a compelling message, put it down on paper, get some feedback from some people and find out if you've got it formatted properly, if it's propositioned properly. I will give you the quick little caveat that you want to be sincere, you want to be genuine, and you want to be seller benefit oriented. If you're not doing those items, you're going to have a very, very hard time getting a response from your market. If you really want to go to the next step and guarantee a response, you would send a one-page purchase agreement to buy that house. Now again, I know you're thinking there's no way you can spend this amount of activity and involvement in something that you don't know is going to come back to you. These people are going to respond. If you ask me personally, I would much rather work on 100 leads that I absolutely 100% know are qualified versus 5,000 that I have to guess which ones are motivated sellers. Give me the 100 leads that I can go after with tenacity, and I will make sure that I get a response from those people and communicate with every single one of them. I don't mean this week. I don't mean this month. But over time, I'm going to track down every single one of those people and have a communication and rule them in or out. Guess what happens when I rule them out? They simply go into a follow-up system. We're going to help you build that. Right now, I'm just trying to get you in the game, get 1,000 addresses, get some letters going in the mail that are very personal, where people can respond to you. You can get a face-to-face meeting, lock that property up under contract, and assign it to somebody for quick cash that allows you to say, wow, it's possible. I can now do what everybody's been talking about. The whole goal of everything that we're doing here, again, everything that we've discussed up until this point is getting to this one step right here. The goal is to get the response, to set the appointment, to get face-to-face and close the sale. If there's anything you can do to bypass having to go through that, by all means, do it. If you talk to a neighbor outside that says, oh, Jane across the street is the only person that communicates with that guy. For whatever reason, she loves him. Find out how you can go talk to Jane. Maybe Jane absolutely has a sincere heart for this man, but cannot stand looking at his house every day. Find out what moves Jane and say, Jane, I want to buy this property. Will you help me buy this property? Jane would love to help you buy that property because she wants it cleaned up. The problem that she might be having is she has a compassionate heart from this guy and knows he doesn't have a family, and if he sells that house, he doesn't have anywhere to go to. You have a good problem to solve that nobody else knows about. This is the opportunity that you are looking for to make or break your entry into real estate. So ideally what we're doing, just to summarize this and why this works so well, is you are fishing in your own pond. You are removing the masses, the uncertainty and the expense of huge direct mail marketing campaigns. You are going direct to the marketplace at a ground level, getting personal contact out there to the people in a very, very strategic format. That is how you break into real estate for less than $100. Literally, you've spent money on stamps, you've spent money on envelopes, you've spent a little bit of money in your gas tank, and you have letters going out on a weekly basis with calls coming back in from realtors you've been calling, for sale by owners you've been calling, for rent by owners that you've been calling, neighbors you've been speaking to, people that you've been communicating with in the neighborhood. This all starts building activity over and over and over again. If you don't believe me, there's a podcast you can go to where a gentleman named Mark Kramer reveals everything that he learned from us spending a couple days on the streets in his market. He was absolutely in a different business model. It wasn't working. He was getting frustrated, spending a lot of time away from his family, a lot of time at these auctions, getting outbid, doing tons of research with no fruition. After 3 days of him spending time in the field, he left with almost 500 addresses and phone calls and emails and text messages that were coming back to him on a daily basis wanting to have conversations about real estate that they own, real estate in their neighborhood, or real estate that may be across town that they can help them help Mark acquire. That is our whole goal right here. So just to recap and give you some action steps, you need to go to the dollar store or whatever store you need to go to and buy your yellow pads of paper, your security envelopes, your 8.5 by 11 envelopes, your multicolored pen, 100 stamps, have access to public record, and then an incredible amount of persistence. Go drive over to your farm area, start driving the streets every single day, even if you only have an hour or two, even if you only have 20 minutes during your lunch break at your current job, whatever it takes. Go buy your kids ice cream, keep them happy in the back seat for 20 minutes, whatever it takes. If you don't have the money, you're going to have to compensate it with time, and this is how you do it. And you get direct, immediate results from your marketplace. Get in the streets, start collecting 1,000 addresses, develop a mailing system, get those letters out on a weekly basis, be prepared when the phone rings, and start getting face-to-face and writing offers to as many people as you can. That is how you get started in real estate for less than $100. My name is Eric Stark. My business partner's name is Steve Mills. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on social media. You can leave comments below this blog, this podcast. Whatever you need that we can help you with, whether it's letters, mailing systems, virtual assistants, whatever questions and hangups that you have about the podcast you just heard, I want to hear from you. I want to engage. I want to see you like and tweet and share this and comment and say, Eric, I'm calling your bluff. It doesn't work. I want you to get on the phone with me and tell me how this works right now, and that's what we'll do. So from Eric Stark, Steve Mills, everybody at the Breakthrough Group, I hope you got a ton of information. If you did, share this with somebody else, leave some comments below, and let us know how we can help you break into real estate faster. Thank you. Real estate faster. Thank you.